Hey, everybody, and welcome to Learning from Smart People. I am your host, Rob Oliver, and I want to thank you for being here. Listen, when I do this podcast, I am always learning from the people that come on here. It's been such an amazing thing. And listen, here's something amazing to me. We are over 100 episodes. That is absolutely fantastic. So anyway, I'm super excited that you're here. I hope that you're probably not as excited as I am, but I hope that after hearing what my guest today has to share, it's going to be something that inspires you, something that gets you going, and that you will be as on fire for life as my guest is. Her name is Simone Knego. She is the author of the best-selling book, The Extraordinary, Unordinary You. She is a wife, a mother to 6 children, and an entrepreneur. In her best-selling book, The Extraordinary, Unordinary You, she details her journey of adopting 3 of her 6 children, her climb of Mount Kilimanjaro, and all of the funny, scary, and inspiring stories that came along the way. Simone, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me here today. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And listen, I read your story, and there are so many elements of what you're doing that kind of jumped out at me. I'm like, I've got to have her on the podcast. And so on a basic level, entrepreneurship, the show is for entrepreneurs. So anything from your entrepreneurial journey, but then to see someone who is out there and accomplishing amazing things, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. Not everyone has done that, and adopting kids and having, it's like fantastic. So let's start here. Let's start kind of with the backstory of Simone Knego, and like, where did you come from? You grew up in Texas, right?
I actually lived in Texas for 5 years, but I grew up in Buffalo, New York. And when I was 13 years old, my parents moved to Florida. Obviously, I moved with them.
Okay.
So, that was kind of the beginning of my journey, and went to school at the University of Florida. And then when my husband and I got married at 21. My husband was 30.
Right.
We moved to Texas for 5 years for the practice that he joined.
Okay.
And then now we're back after those 5 years. We moved to Sarasota, Florida, and we've been here almost 21 years now, which is crazy to think.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you end up with you got your bachelor's and your master's from the University of Florida. And now you're kind of going through this, and the next phase of life, you're talking about kids, if I'm not mistaken, right? And you have 3 kids of your own, and you've adopted 3 kids. So tell me a little bit about that decision and about that process for you.
So if you would have asked me at 21 how many kids I was going to have, I would tell you maybe 1. So, life takes turns in all different directions, right? And, we had 3 kids, and we actually, in between kid 1 and kid 2, it took me a long time to get pregnant. And so we had discussed adoption then. And of course I found out I was pregnant. And so that got put in the back burner. But then once we were back in Florida, and after kid 3, we kind of had the discussion. It's like, are we going to do this? It's now or never. And, we're big on the it's now. And we kind of do that with a lot of things in our life. And so it was now. And we kind of looked at programs that were available to us. And we ended up going with South Korea, and we adopted our son, Noah, when he was a baby. He was 4 months old. He's now 14, which is unbelievable to me.
Right.
And then it was a crazy journey.
I'm sure.
But we still, we learned so much from him, from the process, understanding, adoption in general, and a little bit more about the world. And so we said, even though there were, tough moments, that it was definitely something that we wanted to do again. And for me, I think that it was so important that our entire family was involved in the decision on this, because, and when I say my entire family, obviously our kids, because now we're like past the zone defense part. So, there's a lot of kids, and having the other kids help out, and because there's a lot going on. And so that was kind of like the decision making. And we would actually take a vote each time, and the kids would have to, and it was a blind vote. They would write down on a piece of paper, yes or no. And it had to be unanimous again, because it takes a village.
Right.
And so we adopted Ari from Ethiopia when he was 4.5 years old. And then when we were at the orphanage in Ethiopia, we brought our oldest two girls with us. And we actually had the discussion then. We said, I think we're going to be back again, because there were just so many amazing kids there that just wanted to be loved. They would sit in your lap, they would hold your hand. And so we
Wow.
said, okay, we're gonna do this one more time.
That's, that's an awesome story. And it's amazing the way that you are doing this as a family. It's not an executive decision. It's everybody. Everybody's part of this. And as such, nobody, listen, I've got 3 kids. Okay. And there are sibling squabbles, but doing it as a unanimous thing, you really address those sibling squabbles. And it's not like, well, you're the one that wanted to mirror, I voted against it. It's like, no,
Yeah.
everybody voted for this. So
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yes, for sure. We never got to that point of, trust me, there's sibling squabbles every day. That's what siblings do. Right. But,
Right.
there's never a squabble about something like that. It's just about, wait, you sat in my seat, or you're using my pencil, or something ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and you know what, in some ways you're right. It's what siblings do.
Mhm.
And it's proof that we're all human, and that we've got our idiosyncrasies, and that happens.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to kind of move on it, and let's talk about your book. You wrote the book. I love the title of the book, The Extraordinary, Unordinary You. Just on a side note, the word extraordinary has always bothered me, because it seems like it's an oxymoron. You are extraordinary, right? You're just, your level of ordinariness is off the charts. But that's obviously not what it means. Extraordinary means you're far beyond ordinary. How did you come up with the title for the book?
So I would always say that people would say to me, Simone, you're so inspirational. And, I struggled for so long to see my value, my purpose, what I really wanted. And, from the outside, people would look in and say, oh, wow, she does all this amazing stuff, or whatever. And for me, I was like, and I would always say, I'm just an ordinary girl. I've gotten rid of the just part now. I am an ordinary girl. Right. But I think that the title came from the realization is that we are all unordinary. We all have, differences that we need to, respect and embrace. And the extraordinary part is that we all have extraordinary moments. So I think sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit. We definitely don't give ourselves enough credit in that, there's these moments in our lives, and we all have this inside of us that, but the self-doubt that takes over, or the comparison cycle that takes over, and we don't realize, what we're capable of. And so really my focus with the book was to say, hey, this was kind of my realization. And I think everybody is unordinary, and everybody has extraordinary moments. So that's how the title came about.
You are so right, though, in that everybody has a unique set of circumstances. Everybody has a unique set of abilities. Everyone has a unique set of knowledge and understanding, and all of it. And it's not overly trite to say this, but there is only one you. So talk to me then about how you built that, or changed the understanding of yourself, because you're talking about yourself as you said, you're just a little old, or I'm putting words in your mouth. You're just an ordinary girl. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think of myself often, and it's like, it's just little old me. I am who I am. And it's nothing, it's nobody special.
Yeah. We're all special. We're all special. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And okay. I'm a little bit sensitive to the word special, and here's why. All right. I've got a physical disability. And so when I go out in my power wheelchair, and I get people, and literally people will pat me on the head and like, oh, you're one of God's special people. And I'm like, okay, don't use the word special. But I think what you're talking about is special in that unique sense. Yeah. That, that there's no one else like you, and you, you've got your own circumstances. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing is that we all matter. Like we all bring value. We're all integral to the fabric of society. I mean, that's how this world works, right? So, but it's us taking a step back and seeing the difference that we make on a daily basis. And we do all make a difference on a daily basis. And, I think sometimes we look for, changes that are grand and glorious. But it's the little things that we do every day, the conversation that we have with a neighbor, getting on a customer service phone call and asking the person about their day instead of instantly getting angry and saying, you need to fix this. Well, you know what? Like they're human too. Like they have things going on in their lives. So
Sure.
ask a question, be kind.
Right.
So that's really what I mean by it, is that we're all unique and we all bring something really important to the people around us.
Yeah, that's such an important thing, and that is that we I am only me. Okay. But being only me doesn't change the fact that I have the ability in all of my decisions to make an impact on the people around me. So talk to me a little bit. You're changing the way that you think about yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
No longer are you just an ordinary girl, and as you change that, it's making an impact on the world around you. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah. So again, I think that when we label ourselves with any label, okay, for me, our only label should be we're human, and even that maybe we shouldn't even have a human label. But like I think that that we need to see that the things that we do really matter. So when I say changing the way we see ourselves, and what I had to do to get to that point, I stopped doing the pieces. Well, am I doing this for myself, or am I, the 4-step process? I need to change myself into this. And for me, that was that was not a thing that worked for me. So then when people said, well, how do you look at yourself differently? And I said, what I did was I stopped comparing myself to others. And that was the biggest thing. I stopped looking, and really, it's intentional. Like I stopped saying, wait, oh, my friend just got this huge bonus at work. Why didn't I get a bonus like that? My friend just got a huge bonus at work. That's amazing. Congratulations. And really saying, okay, what am I doing today that was really special? Who did I reach out to today that was really special? And stop doing that whole comparison game. And that really made a difference for me. I really said, okay, what is my value that I'm bringing? And that really helped me, really change the way I saw myself. I can say so many things like, hey, boy, I need to lose weight, or I should get on the treadmill more, or all these things that, that is this what I want to be doing right now? Are these things that are really bothering me, or do they bother someone else? Right. If it's
Right.
bothering me, fine. But if it's because I'm worried about what someone else is telling me, like for me, it isn't valuable. Like it really is about figuring out my purpose, my self-esteem, all of those pieces.
Wow. I love it. And you're talking about change not because of some of external pressure, but you're talking about change for your own purposes and for your own reasons. And you're not changing because somebody wants you to change. You're changing because you want to make the changes. I want to go back to something that you said. You talked about the little things
Mm.
that people do, the small choices that they're making. How can you help us be more aware of that? Because listen, when you used the example of a customer service call, okay? And so when I call the customer service people, I'm calling them because I'm angry,
Right.
okay? I'm calling them because I have received poor customer service. Uh, how do you kind of break that mindset to say, all right, let's start by start from a different position
Yeah.
rather than starting the conversation as the angry customer?
Are you angry at the person that you're calling? Do you even know them? Right. Like you might be angry at the company, but there's a human behind the call, the customer service call. So, and I honestly think it really makes a difference. I think when in the past, when I would call in angry and frustrated to something, I wouldn't get anywhere. Right. Like, I would still be angry and frustrated after the call. But what I noticed is that if I started the conversation And it doesn't always work, but I think a lot of the time, I think it's important for me. It makes me feel, better when I start a conversation, really, starting with humanity and saying there's another human on the end of this line who has feelings and they this is not their company. Let me talk to them first and as a human, and then we can get to the issues that I'm having and see how they can help me.
Yeah, it is. It's the understanding. Let me just kind of dissect what you've said.
Yeah.
The understanding that, yes, you are angry and you're upset, but your anger and your emotion is not directed at the person that's on the phone. It's directed at almost the concept of the organization, or it. And so in that, you're able to almost channel. I don't know if channel is the right word, but you're able to take what you're feeling and say, okay, it's right. It needs to be acknowledged, but it's not directed at you. Let's build a relationship between you and me, and we can work out how to resolve what is upsetting me. I love that.
Yeah, and for me it really works. I mean, trust me, there's sometimes that no matter what, you don't get the end result, but I don't feel bad about myself when I'm finished because I didn't like just totally, unload on someone and just yell at them for something that they can't even control, Again, it's a human on the other end of the line.
Sure.
So I really try to that's like one of the things that's really important to me when I do that. And I do funny stuff too, like, and a friend of mine. So, we have this thing like elevators. You get in an elevator and there's this, you know, this whole awkward situation where you're supposed to be looking straight ahead. You don't speak. Like that's not real. Like when you
Right.
see someone somewhere else, you say hi. So why not say hi in the elevator? And, like it doesn't have to be, I'm not saying go stare at the person next to you, but just say good morning or whatever. Like it doesn't have to be completely awkward. And what I've noticed in those situations is when you say hi or good morning, the person says it back. And sometimes a conversation starts, it's to me, it's a fascinating thing that we do things because this is, I don't know, what we're expected to do, what we're told to do, and then we just kind of get in that rut. I had a friend who said that after he read my book, he started saying hi in the elevator. And he's like, I think people are looking at me like I'm crazy. And I said, well, you've been in that same elevator for 20 years and you've never said hi to anybody because it's at his office. And I said, so they'll get used to it. It's okay.
I understand this kind of from a unique perspective in that as a person with a disability, I'm one of the people that you're not supposed to look at, right? You're not supposed to stare. When I go out and like a little kid is like, wow, they look at me and the mom's like, don't look, right? And so you take that and now you're on an elevator and there's a bunch of people there. And so not only are you have the double layer of kind of awkwardness. And to me, it's not just, there's two elements of it. Number one, there's the courtesy of like building relationships and saying, hey, how's it going? Good morning. What's up? Are you surviving the cold weather or whatever it is that you're saying? And then there's also that part of it where I'm an ambassador for people with disabilities to say like, hey, I'm here and I'm alive and I'm not afraid of relation. I'm not afraid. And I'm friendly and approachable. And so I think that, there's an understanding that goes with that is much larger than just, trying to break the awkwardness of being on an elevator together.
So if I can ask you, what would you want people to do? Like what, like, as
So for me, all I'm looking to do is to be acknowledged as a human.
Yep.
Okay. And so I do the same thing going down the street. When I used to work downtown Pittsburgh, and when I went down the street, I made eye contact with everyone that was coming the opposite direction. And I gave them a head nod and a, hey, how's it going? What's up? Have a good day. Like all of those things. And the reason I did that was just to be proactive in forming just even the most rudimentary of relationships. It's okay to say hi. And that's kind of where I'm coming from. And what do I want out of it? I just want somebody to say hi.
Yeah.
I want somebody at the basest of levels to say, I recognize that is not a wheelchair by itself. I recognize that is not a disability. That is a human. And that to me is what I'm trying to establish. So if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
no. And I think that's so important. And that's why, again, when we talk about, labeling anybody, we shouldn't label anybody. We're all human. And so, we all, want to have conversations. We need that human connection. And those pieces are so important. And it's crazy how, society has groomed us in a certain way that what's okay and what's not okay, what's expected and what's not expected. And, why do we have to follow those things, right? Like just be kind, acknowledge the other person that's standing next to you, really basic skills.
Sure. Yeah. And I had a episode number back that was a gentleman with a disability came on and was talking about the fact that no label defines me, right? I am responsible for determining who I am, and nobody else can stick the labels on me, which is, I would highly suggest folks go back and listen to that. It was wonderful. Can you give me any examples beyond? So far we've talked about the example of the customer service person, the example of being on an elevator, but examples of how the little things that people have done have made a big difference in someone else's life.
I was actually just on a show the other day where the host was talking about, because we were talking about this as well, and he was saying that he usually really kept his emotions inside. He wasn't big on talking about the struggles that he was going through, and his dog had passed away, and he brought up the conversation on his show, and he said normally I wouldn't do that, and he brought up the conversation, and he got messages from and how this was so how much it affected his life, how sad he was about it, how all the pieces that go along with that. And so he talked about like the things that he was doing to kind of move forward. And he said he got messages from two people that listened to his show that day that said they were kind of at their end. They were really contemplating suicide, and the messaging that he gave during that show really turned their viewpoint around and really made such a
Wow.
difference. So I think things like that, where, we don't know what anybody else is going through, right? You have no idea. I'll give you a what not to do example. So my daughter and I, probably a couple months ago, we were in the Starbucks drive-through, and I left some extra space in case if someone needed to back out, someone needed to. And okay, well, what happened? Someone just pulled in front of me and kind of cut me off and went into the line in front of me. And so instantly I was like, that was really frustrating. That was really, and like, so my daughter's in the car with me, and I'm saying like all of these things, like, and my daughter says, Mom, I think you need to reread your book. Like, okay, the honesty of children, right?
Right.
And so I was like, yes, okay, this is ridiculous. Why am I upset about this? This is, again, I think I was upset because here I am. I think I'm doing the right thing, but that person has no idea what I'm doing, why I'm sitting right there.
Sure.
So we get up to pay for our drinks. And of course, as we get up there, the woman in front of us had paid for our drinks.
Right.
And, again, another lesson of like, oh, stop judging and stop, like really take a step back from this. And then of course my daughter said, well, since she paid for ours, can we pay for the people behind us? And I said, absolutely. And
Right.
she's like, I wonder how long that will last. Like, I wonder how many people will buy the drinks for the car behind them.
Right. Well, I love that story. And what you're talking about is it's not just a one layer difference. You're actually starting a ripple effect that you have no idea how long it goes, and you have no idea who else is impacted by it. That's amazing. And it really highlights the fact that all of our actions matter and have the potential to make an impact and to make a difference. That's a really powerful message.
Yeah, I think so. But I think that we, again, where we grow up in such a way that the expectation is or the thought process is, unless you're, the someone, okay, celebrity on stage. I like to say that a lot, but that, and we look at that and say, oh, that person can really make a difference, or the huge philanthropist, that person can really make a difference. But I really think that it's the little things that we do every day, the conversations we have, the chance to reach out to someone, the hey, you call the neighbor, hey, I noticed you're out of town and we just had a big storm, and all your chairs are knocked over. Can I go over there and fix everything? And, those kinds of things where they might be little things, but that puts like this warmness in someone's heart where they're like, wow, that person just went out of their way to do something for me,
Right.
for me.
That's, yeah.
Yeah.
And in that, it's not the size of the gesture that matters. It is the gesture itself. Because listen, as a person with a disability, I'm paralyzed from the chest down. I've got limited use of my arms and hands. The list of things that I can do for other people is not real long, but I can't let that preclude me from saying, okay, I may not be able to do everything, but what can I do? And how do I make a positive impact? And really, to me, that is, I'm building into someone else's life. And as I build into their life, then there's a piece of me that is inserted into them and that lives with them, it goes on with them for the rest of their life. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you're doing right now, I mean, this show, think about how many people you impact with your words on this show, and then they share it with their friends. They share it with someone else that needs to hear your message. I mean, that's a huge impact. So, like, I think we need to look at, the things that we can do, right? The things that we want to do, and that's really where we make our impact. We don't
Yeah.
have to all make the same impact. That's not the point of it. It's that, again, we are unique, and
Right.
that's how we impact people is in a unique way as well.
Okay. So this is a fantastic conversation. I do want to ask one other question, because what possessed you to climb Mount Kilimanjaro? Because like you're just in your own words, you're just an ordinary girl, and just ordinary girls don't go climb mountains in, like, what was the motivation there?
I think that was the motivation in itself right there, right? Like that whole piece of, if I'm just an ordinary girl, what can I really do? Okay, I am an ordinary girl. And again, there are these extraordinary moments that have really, kind of helped define my journey. And this was one of them where, my husband was asked to climb it. His friend had climbed the year before. And basically my husband said, no, thank you, call Simone. And so they called me and I said, yes, like, why not? Like the moment is now. And, had I climbed anything before? No. But did that change my mindset? No, it made me work that much harder. It made me train really hard and really have the mindset from the beginning that I'm going to accomplish this goal. And I think that was a really important piece for me, that once I started, I didn't ever look at it and say, oh, I don't know, I don't think I'll be able to do this. I started and said, this is what I'm going to do. And that really, took me through the hard parts, the hard pieces. Not that any of it was easy, but, there's parts that were harder than others. And it was really an amazing experience.
Yeah. Amazing. Fantastic. Listen, Simone, you have been wonderful. If people are looking to learn more about you, what's your website? What's the best way to get a hold of you? Where can they find your book?
Yeah. So my website is SimoneKnego.com. Knego. Yes, I know the spelling. But I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, and my book you can find basically any online bookseller, Amazon. And if you read it or you listen to this podcast and you want to reach out to me, I would love to hear from you. Go on my website, shoot me an email. I'd love to have a conversation, because really, if I impact one person, then, that to me is such a powerful thing. And that's really what I hope by sharing my stories and sharing my words.
I could not have said it better, but you're making a difference one person at a time. And even on a venue like this, it's about the single individuals that you reach out to and that you make a difference with. I love it. Simone Knego, it is now time for 3 questions to establish your humanity. Are you ready for this?
I think so.
Okay. If you could hire someone to help you, would it be cleaning, cooking, or yard work?
Cleaning.
You've got 6 kids. Your house. So, okay. It makes perfect sense. What is the best gift you have ever received?
Oh, that's such a hard one. I just look at my family as the gift. That's my gift is my family. I mean, it's not
That
like, it comes in a bow. It doesn't have a bow on top of it, but that's a gift for me.
that is a beautiful answer, and I think it gives insight into the character of who you are. Okay, last one. You're down in the Sarasota area, and one of the things that I know is down there, there are Amish restaurants all over the
Mm.
place. And the question is real simple: Amish restaurants, overrated, underrated, or a definite go-to?
So I would say they are a definite go-to, especially for the pie. If you like pie, you go for the pie. It's amazing.
Do you have a recommendation of which one you would say is the one to try out?
Yeah, Yoders. And again, before Thanksgiving, they take pie orders ahead of time, and the people line up in droves to pick up their order. It is unbelievable.
If I'm not mistaken, doesn't Yoder's have like a peanut butter pie or something?
Oh,
Anyway.
they have every pie you can imagine. It's
Okay.
like unbelievable.
You can't go wrong. Fantastic. Listen, Simone, thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate you being here. You are indeed a smart person. And what you have shared today, as you put it so well, if we can make a difference with one person, this has been a fantastic exercise. Thank you for all my listeners. Thank you for being here. And I will remind you, as always, that when you stop learning, you stop living. Have a great day, everybody.